Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third edition of the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game of the Jaguar Report, and with me once again, big smile in tow, and a certain ironic T-shirt we'll get into in a minute. My guy of BigCatCountry.com, Travis Holmes. What's going on, champion?
Hey man, after Saturday's game, I'm doing really well.
You know, the only thing that really went wrong with it was the circumstances of which it ended. But those that are wondering about David Davis, the Miami Dolphin receiver who was carted off, that caused for the game to be suspended 8.5 minutes early. I had word from Mia O'Brien of 1010XL. She had informed me that that he was moving extremities, was conscious, very shortly after that period. So he's looked like he's going to be in better health. I never heard a final prognosis of whether it was just a concussion, which is very likely, or anything else that may have gone on the play. But of course, shouts and prayers to him and his recovery as that takes place. And hopefully it's just a matter of him, getting over the proverbial bell ringing. But well wishes there as well. And of course, Coach Trevor, Foye, Aluakun all had something to say about that. And if you want to get into some of that, you could look on the 3-point conversion YouTube page where me and my guy Raphael Haynes were on scene talking with all the above about that. Bing! See, I throw shots to everybody who helps me on this show, okay? But listen, Travis, let's get into it. You are a guy, and the T-shirt in question, this team makes me drink with the face palming Jaguar. Go ahead and stand up. Let the people see the shirt, Travis. There you go. There's the face palming Jaguar and all of the above. Yeah, listen, the way things are going so far in the preseason, and I know it's preseason. It's just like whose line is it anyway? We have a lot of fun and the points don't matter. I said in this week's article where I wrote about the standout performers on the Jaguar Report, bing, that it could be argued it's also like an episode of Seinfeld where, the score is very similar in that it's a show about nothing, whatever. But you got to have seen some things that got you excited, Travis, right?
It was so obscenely good. Just being a Jags fan, being able to watch that dominant of a performance. I caught myself on at least three different occasions getting the side eye from my wife because I am laughing, I am cackling. It is so funny just how how dominant that D line, how dominant the O line, how dominant the front of both sides of the Jaguars just controlled that game. And I know you're a big man, and you're all about the O line play. You're all about the competition between the O line and D line. So I'm sure it was just like that from your perspective. Again, they dominated it, and I hadn't seen that from a Jaguars team. And we haven't even gotten to the part where we're talking about this top three quarterback that we have, this coach who's scheming everyone open. I mean, we're just talking about things from me walking into the game, things that I said I'm going to take serious. I'm going to look at the O line play and I'm going to look at the D line play because generally these are things that historically are able, they transmit, they transpose, they these are things that you're able to kind of evaluate, and they kind of go into the regular season. They follow you into the regular season.
Yeah.
Every once in a while coverages may not, how the secondary plays may not go depending on how you want to call the coverages. But O-line and D-line play, for the most part, they transpose.
I agree a lot on that. As a matter of fact, the thing that I feel most frustrated by from a performance standpoint is the fumble at the end of that opening drive. Listen, Tank Bidsby, I think Trevor said it best post game. It's good that he got to make that mistake in a preseason game. And then Trevor jokingly said, when I was a rookie, all my mistakes happened when they counted. So, from that standpoint, I'm not getting on Bigsby's case. I would argue it's a great teaching moment. Darius Johnson was right there on the sideline with him, helping him through that. But the reason why I'm most frustrated from a show producer standpoint, is I would have gotten an excellent clip showing off Anton Harrison pulling on that with a great block to set that up. That's the kind of stuff you want to see a big and do, be able to get out there on those, make that push and truck. And that's just one example of what this offensive line, who you and I were both incredibly concerned about at times, Travis, can do, setting things up. And I have to cite you on your Twitter, Trav Likes Bacon, doing the
Actually,
thing.
I take that back. It is Travis D. Holmes now. We have now become an adult. It's no longer Trav Likes Bacon.
Just do me a favor. Don't use the A word ever again on this show. We don't talk about being an adult, okay? Things that are obscenely good might be on an adult website, but that's the only thing. I'm joking. But yeah. So Travis D. Holmes on Twitter, you had pointed out that Cam Robinson had an excellent bounce back from a rightful criticized performance against the Lions. You were happy to see that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot. They're holding Walker Little out to make sure he's as healthy as possible. I was actually thought that was a very smart decision in itself. And
he actually dressed for the game. He actually went through warm-ups, and they said this happened in practice. So apparently they just got to the last second and said, all right, no, we're not going to do this. Let's just hold him to the side and let Cam get all these additional snaps at left tackle. And like you said, I've watched this game now 3 times so far, and I'm probably going to watch it a 4th just to take a deeper dive onto the D-line. But
make sure
Cam played great.
Make sure that T-shirt's in the wash while you're doing that.
Hey, man, at this point, for the next 10 years, it may just be a gag shirt because unless Trev starts, playing like, I don't know, Gardner Minshew or Blake Bortles, this shirt may not be out of the closet unless it's for a gag purposes for the for foreseeable future. Hey, Cam played. I can't even say incredible because it wasn't a perfect sheet. I mean, he still has some things that need to be cleaned up.
And had a hold in there too. I'm right.
But I will say this: he's not back to his full self. He's not back to full strength after his injury from last year, and you can see it. And if I were anyone else, I would even hint at the thought that they could still trade him. And there's always that question. I mean, I want to be real about this. I want to be really clear about this. If it's not something to do with injuries and things of that nature, there could be a real conversation of will he be his normal self this year? Because again, I watched only his plays, and I'll probably post it to my Twitter later this evening or tomorrow morning. But after snipping them up and such. He doesn't have the power that he normally would. And there was one thing that you could always say about Cam, no matter what, is he was always going to be solid in the run game. And he's not necessarily moving the guys off the spot. He's shielding them. And it's getting the job done, especially with ETN being able to, being that smaller back, find those holes. But it's not looking the same, and it may take some time to look the same. And I always question whether or not that's going to result in him being traded once he gets back from that suspension, simply because they have the other option with Walker Little. Don't know. That's just a question.
And I love you setting the table, not just with Walker Little, but Anton Harrison able to handle the other side such that it is. I think this is tantamount to you and I putting our heads together and calling a trade of James Robinson last year because similar circumstances, right? Robinson, he wasn't looking right. He wasn't looking like the same guy. Etienne, his first start, got 100 yards on the day, had a key fumble, unfortunately, but he had showed that he was ready to ascend. Walker Little, after his performance against Micah Parsons last year, got eyes open, has the opportunity to ascend. Similarly, if Harrison continues through camp to ascend himself, yeah, you're making a case. And hey, Travis, I had campaigned for trading Cam Robinson this time last year in the offseason. I was hoping that they would go after a tackle in that draft, and they didn't, and that's okay. I'm mad at it. But that's the direction I would go. I like Cam Robinson, but this is, you can't help the club in the tub kind of situation with him. And then moreover, if we're starting to get more of a, how you say, depreciation from there, I can see the movement. But listen,
it's a good situation though. If you don't mind, if just to wrap that part, just to wrap that piece up. It's a good situation because he did bounce back. You don't want to put someone on the trade block when they're at their lowest, value. You're not going to be able to get anything in return.
That's a great point.
He had a bounce back game, and that's the perfect time to put that film out there. Hey, what can we get from him, et cetera, et cetera. And it didn't hurt that Miami played without Christian Wilkins and Zach Siegler, who just got extended.
Mhm.
less than 12 hours after that dominating performance by the O-line. So
Mhm.
great job, Cam. Hey, and hopefully he's on the team, but if he's not, that could be the reason.
But listen, we've spent the first 10 minutes talking about the O-line. I could do that for hours, but let's get the people a little bit more what they want. And listen, this was a
Yes, sir.
guy who was a standout player for the night. I had liked what I seen out of him from camp on day one. And listen, I was writing for the Dolphins Wire when the story of Laramie Tunsil came up, an unfortunate situation, put him in the Dolphins' lap. This guy, similar situation, an unfortunate situation for him, landed him right in the Jacksonville Jaguars' lap. And listen, I'm going to go ahead and pull in the highlight. Of course, I am talking about one Calvin Ridley on the scene, man. Listen, I got to cue this play up here because it was certainly fun to watch. And Lawrence has to just throw it up to Calvin Ridley. Just watching that, first of all, an excellent throw by Trevor where he gets hit there. It'll come up here in a minute. An excellent throw by Trevor in the first place while he's taking the hit. But I wasn't sure he kept both feet in at first, Travis. But, he comes in. We're going to see it here. Trev takes the hit. Oh, my gosh. Turns around, looks at the I love that look, by the way. And then he just boop, boop, comes out, gets the 1, 2 feet. Both were in. I wasn't sure they were going to give him possession. They did. And that set up the Travis Etienne touchdown. Travis, man, you got to tell me. Walk me through your thought on that play.
Just laughing out loud. That was one of the 3 to 4 plays that just happened, and I'm just cackling. Again, I'm just laughing out loud because I'm like, I've not seen a Jaguars team look like. Let me rephrase. I've not seen a Jaguars offense that looked like this, and Calvin Ridley, Trevor Lawrence combination is just going to be a problem for a lot of teams, and the only unfortunate takeaway from it, and I say unfortunate because you have to beat the guys who line up against you. The only unfortunate takeaway that I have from this was, man, I wanted to see that against Howard, or man, I wanted to see that against Ramsey, who ended up not playing, and that was unfortunate because that was against the Dolphins' third cornerback, and
the Jalen Ramsey jerseys were in effect at Everbank Stadium.
Right, and that was the biggest piece, but it's like that man is a dog. He is a problem, and that speed out, that deep speed out that they hit 2 to 3 times in the game, and they're going to keep coming back to it. It is going to be incredible to find out. Just to watch how defenses are going to have to play this team with light boxes all day, which may end up helping the run game, as we saw last night. That happened numerous times.
And as you mentioned, Travis Etienne earlier. Listen, there are 2 things I want to raise here. One, I did not put Trevor Lawrence in my spotlight players piece on the Jaguar report. Bing! Simply because it felt cliche. But Travis, there was a day where the out route was a murder throw for Trevor Lawrence, and he is the part I always loved, and you've heard me say this on the Student of the Game podcast. Bing! He would always be like, my footwork was bad. I need to work on my footwork with that. And he was always consistently pointing to that. I'm like, bruh, you say your footwork's bad. I'm not going to argue with you, and it looks like that's getting shored up. He actually, after the game, Trevor Lawrence talked about maturity, not just his own, but having veteran guys in the lineup with him too, knowing how to play football in this league a bit better is a big part of this as well, Travis, right?
I mean, absolutely. Just like he's well into the offense. This is truly not him learning an offense. This is him. This is his offense where he's able to make the checks, where he's able to set protections, where he's able to lead these guys instead of just following instructions and just playing within the play. There are many occasions where he's playing outside of the play or making the checks, and this is truly his but not only that, for the players who play around him, they understand it also. And so you only have 1 or 2 guys who are like maybe trying to figure it out still. You have the new additions and even Ridley. And if this is what it looks like with those guys figuring it out.
But what new additions, Travis? Like the chemistry there this time last year, and I mean that literally this time, right? The final preseason game last year was when Christian Kirk got out there and they were finding there were 5 third downs. Sorry. Yeah, there were 5. I think there were 5 third downs where either he or Zay Jones were open, and Trevor only hit 3 of them. but they were
Right.
open, and they were that notorious Trevor Sale throw with the footwork, right?
That's fair.
I asked Christian Kirk after the game at Everbank. I asked him, "Hey, what's different this year versus last year?" And the first part of his answer was, "We all know our roles," which includes
Hmm.
Calvin Ridley, by the way. And I don't remember if you fell into this camp or not, but a lot of people, when the trade happened last year with the Falcons involving Calvin Ridley, a lot of people weren't feeling it. And I tried to tell people, you're not going to know the answer to that for at least another year. And here we are seeing this render dividends.
I think I can agree with you. And I also want to make sure, unlike everyone else, and everyone is going to do this because this is what we do, national media and local media, like, hey man, this is the best team since sliced bread. We're the next best team in the NFL outside of the Chiefs. This is everything. We're incredible. And and I told you I was feeling this exact same way last night, and then I watched the game a second time, and then I watched the game a third time, and I'm going to watch it a fourth time before everything's said and done, before Tuesday hits. And as I watch the game more, I come back down off that cliff just slightly. Is what we saw last night going to be the Jaguars in the regular season? I would probably lean towards the unlikely not camp. However, will they be significantly better or just better than we saw the second half of last season? I do believe that is going to be the case, but we have to acknowledge those few caveats that do exist. Hey, that
Sure.
the Dolphins weren't playing with their top two interior linemen. That matters as far as how easy we were able to open up holes where they could drive trucks through them, and that happened over and over again. Were they playing without their top left tackle? Yeah, and we still didn't see a pass rush last night. That's concerning. I can't pretend that didn't exist. They were
Right.
playing without Waddle, and we still didn't have much tight coverage as far as the secondary was concerned. They were giving up deep out routes to their fourth and fifth receivers. That's some things that are concerning. We gave up 2 explosive plays on defense in 2 series. These are concerning things in our great. We're still flying on cloud 9, and we know this is an incredible preseason game, but there are caveats to that, and I want to see that dominating fashion in those first few weeks of the season. But it's a great offense, and it's going to be led by that great offense moving into the season.
So this is, since this apparently has become the down to earth portion of the podcast. Yeah, I do see the concerns. Like, for one, that opening play where they came out and Tua did the pirouette, which I made fun of at first, and I'm like, oh, I know why he did that. Because who the hell would expect the quarterback doing the 360? He turns his back to you, he's going to hand it off. Then he comes around and hits. Was it Hill? He hit on the outside. I don't.
Yeah, Hill.
I ain't mad in a preseason game where you witness Tua doing ballet and then hitting a speed demon down the side off of it. I ain't mad at that.
Right.
But the 2 big plays on the first 2 opening series, and the only way that those got canceled out were Dolphins blunders. You have to be a little concerned to be realistic. And listen, I as much as I pointed out moments, because you're wearing that T-shirt, Travis, the amount of times as a non-Jaguar fan I have to be the Jaguar optimist. On this one, I agree with you. There's reason to be concerned there, but we know this ill, Travis. We've talked about this defensive front being a potential issue, and maybe those teeth not being quite sharp enough to be where they should, or where fans would like them to be, right?
Right.
So,
but that's the biggest piece, is the negative part of that coin is, or it may not even be negative. We'll just call it a questionable part. They didn't play bad.
Of the coin,
right. Because no, they didn't play badly. I want to be clear about that.
Right.
The Dolphins are a team that is great about getting the ball out on time. They're getting the ball out quickly, and because of that, it makes it very difficult to truly show off your pass rush chops. I'm here for that. I fully understand that. So I'm not going to say it's a negative thing. I will say it's still as big as a question mark as it was going into the game. And the biggest takeaway that I had for that front set, for that front four, is the fact that they had incredible internal pressure. Roy Robertson Harris, Jeremiah Ledbetter, just had incredible first halves of that game. Ledbetter is the reason. I'm going to say the reason. I'm going to pass the nuance. He is the reason that they struggled to run the ball that way in that first half of the Dolphins running the ball. He dominated the center for the Dolphins on, I'm probably going to say, 5 to 8 plays or run plays, and I'm just jacked them up, just jacked up, moving 2 and 3 steps back on the run.
Yeah, which is more significant. That's you mentioned 5 to 8 plays. So oh, that's not very much on just run plays, and he's doing that. That's huge, man.
It was impressive. And then on the plays where he didn't, you have Roy Robertson doing the same thing. And those guys are going to be a problem. Like, it's just that's something that I was really looking for going into the game. Is because you don't have Fatukasi playing and you don't have Hamilton playing. Hey, how is this front four going to get some internal pressure? How is that going to look in the run game? Because Miami going to the game had, I believe they averaged 38 carries a game or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. It was something insane where they were truly trying to establish the run this preseason. So I'm looking forward to that. And all of a sudden, we have the Jaguars who are dominating this front inside pressure. That was lovely.
Which, in fairness, I do appreciate Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel showing run during the preseason, because we all know damn well once it gets started, he's going to be showing pass. But by the way, Drew Willingham checking in. The man from Sartoba Media himself. What's going on, Drew? One of the partners that has this streaming on their YouTube channel here, the Dolphins Dive. See, I'm talking about my fins. This is me throwing out my Dolphins Wire shout there. This is the Duval Dive of Jaguars podcast.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man, just doing the thing here. Shouts to Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. Travis, for all the talk we've done about the defense, I had to throw some shouts. This is a guy I actually featured on my Spotlight Players. I almost went with Ledbetter, but I went a different direction from a younger man. And listen, when a player is drafted in the 5th round, you don't typically expect them to make a huge impact immediately. But this young man has been putting pressure in the backfield, and then as a rookie, whenever you're able to turn in your first interception in game action, pop, that's always a good time for you. Of course, I'm referring to Yasir Abdullah. Now, obviously, that wasn't all him. That was a bad decision by the quarterback, indubitably. But the fact that he's just falling right in there, I like, it's a bad throw, yes, but the way he goes right to his spot, clogs up that passing lane, you got to be happy for the young man. And Travis, talk a bit about what Abdullah's been doing in this preseason to really kind of shine, and a 5th round pick is doing what he's doing, man. I know it's against guys who might be selling insurance or being bartenders this time in a month now. I get that, but you got to be encouraged to see that from a 5th rounder.
Oh, absolutely. Abdullah is, hey man, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. Abdullah is who I wanted, and I think most Jags fans have probably wanted Clevon Chason to be. And he hasn't to date, at least. Like, he's actually making plays, whether that be in the passing game, in coverage, or whether that means just getting pressures, getting sacks on the quarterbacks. And that is all we've ever wanted from that third, fourth guy as far as that defensive line rotation. We just needed someone else who was just not going to be a body that's there. And Abdullah's actually filling that role as a rookie who hasn't even truly gotten his feet wet yet. Like, if he's doing that now, hey man, the ceiling the ceiling don't exist. Like, I'm all here for it, and I was a fan of him when he was drafted. So for me, seeing these early returns, I'm absolutely here for it. Like, that's my guy. So he's the guy I really want to one day in the whatever near future, far future, whenever it may be that Jaguar second rusher. If we end up losing someone, or just to have that option as that second/third rusher. So hey man. Interception, pressures, sacks. He's done it all this preseason. Keep it moving.
Hey, listen, this is one of those with Abdullah where I covering college football like I do when I cover UCF4, the black and gold banneret. Bing! Abdullah's name popped up. I'm like, oh, I do know that name. He went to Louisville. I've covered him twice on the other side. So yeah, and I remember him being a presence that was all over the field in that aspect. Now, was it the pedestrian Atlantic Coast Conference? Absolutely. Yes, the overrated ACC, which was being beat out by the American before it changed teams the way that it did this past season. Hashtag I said it. I know it's an NFL show, but it's a thing,
Yes, sir.
Travis. Let me work. But listen, all that joking aside, Malik Cunningham stood out at the quarterback position. He's doing things in New England, and Abdullah on the defensive side was a guy all over the field, and he was a big part of both of the losses that UCF took from Louisville in back-to-back seasons. So, I got to meet Yasir Abdullah all over again. Hopefully I get a chance to talk to him as the season goes on at one of my trips upcoming here to Everbank. Fingers crossed. But when you get that kind of production, I don't care if he's from Pluto, not a planet, deal with it. That's a good thing to get from a fifth round pick, no question. Travis,
Absolutely.
we've got about 5 minutes left, and this being the last dress rehearsal that we know as the final 2023 preseason game, walk me through your thoughts of what you saw, what you feel good about, what you don't feel as good about, things we may not have touched on. Like, obviously, we don't need to say that, the pass rush we know is an area of concern for this team, things like that. Earlier you mentioned Doug Peterson, plotting guys open. Bro, we talked about pencil whipping last year. He just has better toys to do it with.
Right.
What's something else you may have seen? Like, I'll ask you this way. It was always the Jags turn into more of a Thanos kind of a call for inevitability? It was always.
Yes, really. Hey, man, this team, again, with all those caveats already taken away, the first half let me see everything that I needed to see. Those first 2.5 series showed me everything that I needed to see from the front, from the starting units, essentially, and even the immediate depth. At that point, it's all about, all right, cool. Let's see what these young guys are going to do. Let's see who's going to make the roster. And it stinks that the game ended in the way that it ended.
Absolutely.
Because there are those guys, like, I didn't see enough from Gregory Jr. to truly have him, have the true ability to challenge Trey Herndon as far as the nickel role is concerned. And that's by no fault of his own. I didn't even see him be targeted as far as when he was in coverage. Things of that nature.
As a corner, that's also a good thing.
It is a good thing, but like Trey made a good play on that third and 6, third and goal, rub route, we'll call it,
really
across the field.
I did like
he
that.
really made a good play on that. And I just wanted to see Gregory Jr. be challenged just to see how he reacts to it against a great wide receiver core for the Dolphins, a really speedy wide receiver core. And it stinks that we didn't get to see that, because I wanted to see how he, if he rose to that occasion. That's no fault of his own.
Yeah, you mentioned wide receivers, Travis. The lack of game time. I mean, we were talking about 6 guys. Jacob Harris, UCF alum, I talked to him about it after the game, and Christian Kirk as well, about the depth on this receiver core, and both of them reflected the sentiment, like, it sucks we can't keep them all, right?
Brother, they got 10 guys. They legit may have 11, but they have so many of these dudes that you have fans asking, like legitimately asking questions in a real heartfelt way. Hey, do you think there's any chance that we're going to keep 7 guys? Knowing it's not going to happen, because that's such a rarity in NFL circles. Unless you have a running back a receiver who plays like significant snaps at running back, it's just not happening. Like, the fact that fans are asking that question for weeks now lets you know just how deep this crew is, and everyone showed up. Tim Jones with the bomb for the 74-yard touchdown.
Let's show don't tell on that one, Travis. Let's go ahead and rock that beast real quick.
Yes, like, it is insane how deep this core is. And what do you do with it? But you got Seth Williams, 2 catches for 50 yards. Calvin did his thing, so those guys are locked in. Elijah Cook showed up with his 3 catches, moving the chains. 3 catches, 50 yards, averaging 16.7 of catch. Like, this is wow. What do you do with this core, though? Jacob Harris had his 1 catch. Man, this was against Cam Smith, another guy most Jag fans wanted in the draft in the 2nd round as a corner, and he just CJ Beathard made the throw. And Tim just did the rest. But again, we have all these guys, and you almost want to see one of them just traded just so the Jazz can get something for it. But there's just no way that you're going to have some guys that they're not going to get picked up. and they're not going to be able to sneak through the practice to the practice squad simply because everyone in the league knows it. There's no one who's like oblivious to the fact that this is a deep wide receiver core, and they're absolutely going to be looking come cut down day, come Tuesday, to find out what's going to happen with that. So this is the hardest decision I have, and I'm going to ask. I'm going to throw it to you. Who's going to be the guy who's going to stick on? Because I personally feel that one of these four guys is going to stick on, and the other three are going to be gone. Between Seth
absolutely.
Williams, Tim Jones, Elijah Cooks.
Well, Tim Jones has made a special teams play and two big throws down the field. And listen, I know I pounded the table hard for Jacob Harris, and you can't coach size, but at day's end, I really think Doug Peterson, such that he is as a pass first guy, as somebody who can make use of deep threats to pencil whip other guys open. I really feel like it's going to be Tim Jones, just because he can be that. First of all, great to be a utility guy. That helps your sock.
Yeah.
And to say, listen, he walks in the room. This doesn't actually happen, but I'm picturing like that scene out of Major League with Charlie Sheen talking to the manager. He's like, where he yells at him, you're gonna be sorry that you cut me. No, I didn't cut you. He's gonna come in, basically slam on the table, hit the stat sheets of him forcing a fumble, and then the two 40+ receptions, including a 74-yard TD for a guy that Giants fans wanted drafted to the hizzy. Bruh, like you have to take him at this point. And this is me as a Jacob Harris guy, and Jacob Harris himself as an NFL vet, as a guy who was in a Super Bowl locker room with the Rams, said that this group was special. That should tell you everything you need to know. Travis, I know we could go on and wax poetic, but we are just over our 30-minute mark. Let's go ahead and wrap this beast up. Tell the people where you can be found. Travis is sad this show's done. Tell the people where you can be found.
It's so much, man. You can find me on all the socials, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now. X, Facebook,
X
Instagram.
To you, it's Twitter.
All of them. Travis D. Holmes, again, no longer Trav Lights Bacon because I'm an adult now, but whatever. You can find me on you can find my writings. I know you don't like it, but it doesn't matter. It's all in your mind, sir. It's all in your mind.
It doesn't matter if you like it, Kyle Nash.
You can find me on, you can find me. I'm very active on X, very active on Twitter. It's where I share a lot of the videos. Same thing on Facebook. And if you're in any other Facebook Jaguar groups, and I try to share information out to those guys also. Try to be a tight-knit family. You can find my writings on bitcatcountry.com. Any news updates or, game analysis, anything along those lines, definitely visit bitcatcountry.com. And also the Jaguar Report, Mr. Kyle Nash and family. And I thank you for having. I always enjoy this time, and I wish we can do it every day of the week. But hey, man, you're my people, listen, my family.
The people will just have to settle for every week, once a week, as we get into the season. I guess the time we've settled here with Sertobia Media, and everything else where we go, Huddle Up Bank, the Student of the Game, the SOTG Twitter and Twitch, the Student of the Game Facebook page, the A7BN Sports Facebook page, all of that. Look out for the stream to take place Fridays at 11. Whether we're actually live or not is for us to know and you to find out. But with all that in mind, listen, a production note. I know Travis laments not having more time to do this show with me, which of course I'm touched by, but remember, you need to follow him because he does have his regular video updates that he does out there too, where any gaps we don't fill, I'm sure he will out there. Call it bonus content. And hey, listen, get it while it's free. You never know if Travis is going to start a Patreon. I don't know. Anyways, of course,
Amen.
I am Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game. You can find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram as the same, the SOTG. The Twitch stream as well. Twitch stream as well. The Facebook page is the Student of the Game. Of course, my work with A7BN Sports, of course, the 3-point conversion, where my guy Raphael Haynes was present. He got to talk to and meet Foye Oluokun. He's like, I've seen this face all the time editing YouTube videos. Now I'm talking to him. It was great. And then, of course, I mentioned A7BN Sports, but my guy John Shipley bringing me aboard with the Jaguar Report doing the thing. Check out his Jaguar Report podcast with Gus Loke as well, Travis's guy. That should be a fun time for you as well. But I honor, joy, and privilege. Looking forward to the next one as we get started with the season. You probably won't get one this Friday, but the Friday after heading into the season. I don't know. Maybe Travis and I will do one for something to come out next Friday if we're that excited. Maybe there are gaps to fill.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll figure it all out. But at the very least, look forward to that Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time to drop out there in the YouTube street, so to speak, for the digital stream such that it is. And of course, you can find it on the Student of the Game podcast feed as well if you don't get a chance to check it out live. So there's that. Spotify, Apple, all that happy stuff. An honor, joy, and privilege, Travis. It was a great time. But until next time, everyone,
Yes,
class dismissed.